All right. I could not get the website to work.
Enter your attendee ID number, followed by pound.
Is that for me?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody, whoever that might be. I can't see everybody today, so I'm going to be doing this blind. Thank you all for attending, and sorry for the slight delay. Let's just start with roll call. Deborah Carter.
Camp. I don't know if Kim can hear us.
Barely, yes. Roll call, please.
This is Talby Roach, Bi-State.
Linda Camp, Transportation Commission, and Kim Selichire is on, but she can't hear us.
She can't hear? Oh.
No, she
Okay.
can't hear us. I think she's maybe going to try to call in on her phone.
Okay.
Kevin Scott, Bi-State.
Tammy Fulbright, Bi-State.
Who was that, Tammy?
Yes.
Okay.
Ray Golick, St. Louis County Transportation.
I'm Curran, I was about to say St. Louis County. That's my pop-up Bi-State development. Ray, you're throwing me off.
Jay Nelson.
I didn't hear
St.
the
Louis County.
last two. Who's from St. Louis County? I can't hear.
Jay Nelson.
Oh, okay, Jay. Was there somebody else in St. Louis County?
Ray Golick.
Okay. And there was somebody after you, Ray. Who was that?
It was Tom
Oh.
Curran. He accidentally said he was with St. Louis County.
He used to be.
I wonder why. I wonder why. Okay. Okay. All right. Is that everybody?
Chuck Stewart from Bi-State.
There we go.
Chuck? Okay. Anybody from marketing?
Ted's trying to log in. I think he had a few issues.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on today.
It looks like Chris is on from St. Louis County, but we can't hear him.
Okay. And Paul is not.
I say, Chris, we still can't hear you. I can see your mouth moving.
Hey guys, it's Pete Morrow with St. Louis County also.
Thanks, Pete.
And Adam Spector, St. Louis County.
Is that everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Did we ever get Chris to working? He's still just moving his mouth and we can't hear him?
He's still just moving his mouth, so anybody that's a good lip reader knows what he's saying.
Okay. Well, if he comes on a little bit late. Okay. Paul is not going to be here today, and since Chris is having technical difficulties, we'll move on to. Okay. Is somebody saying something?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I keep hearing background noise. Okay, we'll move on to new business. And Toby, Kim, are you on? Kim is not on yet?
Kim is on. She
Toby?
looks like she just walked away and is trying to call in to be able to participate.
Okay. Toby, do you want to give us a brief update on the North Hanley Transit Stop?
Sure. On the North Hanley, in particular on the CMT project, Chair?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Or you want me to wait for Kim?
Oh, well, I can, it's going to be hard for her to talk. I think she can hear what we're saying. So
Okay.
in particular, we had the CMT event, very successful event, having to do with the dressing up of the station. That went wonderfully. Obviously, you were there, Chair Carter, but in addition, I know that we're moving ahead on a joint development, or at least the application for said joint development, having to do with developing some apartments in the Hanley area with Bywater Development. It's a very exciting and interesting project, but it does require MHDC approval with their financing, and we think it's a neat and project that could spur more ridership along with really good, affordable places to live that would be immediately approximate to a station there in the county. It is in technically an unincorporated St. Louis County area. And the project has gotten support from Dr. Page's office and from the council chair, Rita Days. So that project is moving ahead for approval. And it is absolutely key that it is a tax credit deal, and it would need to get approved by the state of Missouri in order to go through. But we think it's one of those really neat and worthwhile projects. We kind of went through it a little bit in an earlier version, really last year and the year before, but we've kind of tuned it and we've kind of worked all together to get better support. And I think that it's a good and exciting project, and we hope that it will get the needed tax credit support from the state. And that's what I can think of with Hanley Road right now, Chair Carter.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes,
So
Kim?
Thank you for coming. I do want to say that what we're seeing with these projects is the moment we do this soft touch, we're seeing additional investment in those projects. So we were able to raise additional funding. We've expanded the footprint of the artwork. Metro Transit is looking at expanding the benches at that site, and then the Bywater development would be the next step, a much significant investment in that site. But we're seeing that in the other stations we've done as well. Emerson Park had $9.9 million grant following that, and Belleville just did an additional investment at that site of about $260,000. So hopefully these lead to future investment and change the environment around the station.
Thanks, Kim. That's great news. Along with the artwork and benches, can you just kind of give us just a brief snapshot of what the transformations are? What was done?
Sure. So when we do these, we do significant community engagement to hear what the riders and the residents and the stakeholders around the stations want. What was wanted at North Hanley was additional seating, which we provided, but we worked with security to make sure that those didn't become an issue. So there's seating with backs and arms. There's additional shade at that station with the canopy. There's color that's been infused. We also heard over and over again that North Hanley is a major transfer point for people of all walks of life. And so the project came up with this theme, Transit We All Ride Together. And so you're going to see actual riders depicted on the bus shelters, on the elevator stairwell, as well as the artwork along the wall.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Toby, I actually had the presentation on for today, but because I am having technical problems, I can't pull up the website. So I'm gonna just postpone that till next month. Is that okay with you?
It's perfectly fine. I can give that anytime you want, and you're going to need to see my slides for it to be worthwhile. I know you guys are sick of hearing my talk anyway. Let's have some better pictures. So I think it totally makes sense. I'm happy to do it anytime if you want to schedule it. It's very straightforward. Really, the East-West Gateway presentation, it's right around 17 slides, but most of them are maps and makes it very interesting, gives you an idea of what the planning is. It is going well. I just want to update you that Chuck and I actually did meet with Shalonda Webb and with Rita Days. The council women, Rita Days, had seen the presentation at East-West Gateway, and she wanted to know how we can get North County moving. So based on her nudging, let's say I am actually going to have a meeting with AECom tomorrow to try to get them focused on some alternative routes for North County. So same study area, but what both councilwomen wanted to see is they wanted to be presented with options. That's a little ahead of what is an alternative analysis, but that's no problem. We want to give, obviously, our customers what they want to see. So I'm actually meeting with that team tomorrow to try to advance the county piece as best we can. But I'll be happy to add that to the presentation whenever it's ready. And we can go ahead and I'll do that whenever you want me to.
Okay, we'll try it again for December.
Okay.
Thank you. You can keep going.
Okay, sure. So why don't we, obviously we have, everybody did, I hope, get their book. Their book is, of course, starts with financials, and financials are handled by Tammy Fulbright. So why don't we jump right into financials with Tammy Fulbright. And Tammy, why don't you mention a little bit about where we're going on our sales tax as well?
Sure. Can you guys hear me? I just want to make sure. Okay, perfect.
Okay, Tammy, let me
Alright,
stop
so-
you for a second. Let me stop.
Sure.
So, but are you going to come back to the special pricing and ridership?
Yes, I can.
Okay, go ahead, Tammy.
Okay, thanks. So for revenue, so I'm looking at year to date through September. So you can see in total, our revenue's up about $1 million from what we budgeted. So our passenger revenue is up about 800,000, which is great news. The city of St. Louis taxes is coming in higher than expected, almost 3.3 million, which is a lot. St. Louis County is down about 1.4. And then the other thing on revenue I want to mention is that we haven't pulled any of the federal funding in this year. And so the next area is really expenses, to talk about that. And we are still down in expenses, about 3.4 million. We are in negotiations on the labor contract, so that will probably change as that is decided. And then other areas to really talk about is the service line item. So you can see we're under budget there too by about 2.3 million. Some of that may just be timing. As far as fuel, that is down by about $1 million, but that's primarily due to our fuel hedge. It's also due to the fact that when we were looking at our hedging, we had some contracts, so we were a little overhedged. So we had some contracts we could sell. So that brought that number up. But we're not in the fuel hedge business to make money. We're in that business to help us maintain our budget and be in line with that. And over time, if those prices continue to increase, you'll see that our expenses will increase in that area. So what we're seeing right now, that will change as we move through time unless fuel prices go down. So in total right now, year to date, we are at an advantage of 9.7 million, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Any questions from anyone?
Tammy,
Okay.
does any of this is accounted for the baseball game, some of the increase in fair revenue? Or what are you guys seeing?
I think it could account for some of that, and I'm gonna push that towards Chuck to to give the real answer on that. Chuck, are you seeing that as part of the ridership gain? We can't hear you for
Okay,
some
Here we
reason.
go. Yeah, certainly. I mean, that helps. We're still, our revenues are still down about 16% for a comparable time period, but they are increasing. I mean, during 2019 and 2021, we did not get those special event type revenues. So yeah, that is definitely helping.
And I would like to note that sales tax, both in the city and county, and I know we're talking about the county, but just as far as system performance has been very solid. As a matter of fact, it's beating expectations. Now that obviously, the sales tax beating expectation does go to the benefit of both the city and county, not necessarily to transit. However, because we do work on our budgeted basis, but we are moving favorable to budget as Tammy mentioned. What's important about the tracking of the sales tax, however, it'll allow us to move into the next budget year a little bit much more smoothly, and we'll be able to push those savings out that we were, or I should say, the benefit of CARES funding out further and continue with system stability. So I also wanted to note we are, as I'm Chair Carter, as I pass on to Chuck Stewart, I'm going to ask Chuck to comment a little bit about the specific the sale, obviously on discounting our tickets for the holiday. That came from a combination of different internal users here in trying to kind of get people on a return to the system. Is really neat, kind of organic idea. I know Tammy actually reviewed some of the fundamental numbers behind those past programs, and even though we were reducing the cost, our overall revenues were continuing to build because those past sales have gone quite well. Chuck, can you comment a little bit about that?
Well, Ted and I agreed that he was going to talk about that.
Oh, I apologize.
So then
Okay.
I am going to talk about ridership. So
okay, very good.
Ted, jump in.
So, yeah, what we've seen, especially when we were going back through COVID-19, we started with our day pass a little bit over a year ago and did a test on a trial with that, moving it from 750 down to 5. And that's the piece that Talby was just talking about, that Tammy was able to see strengthen our numbers as far as growing our day pass ridership from that perspective. And based upon the success that we saw there, we started looking more deeply into how do we look at our other customers as far as our weeklies and our monthlies. And so with the board's approval, we started a special pricing program for November and December that really focuses on our monthly pass and then on our weekly pass. So our weekly pass will go from $27 down to $15, and then our monthly pass goes from $78 down to $50. What we've seen some good pass sales at this point in time. I don't have the final numbers or anything like that, but what we do hear from our customers are that Metro is paying attention, that people are struggling financially during these times, and we're looking to be able to help our customers from that perspective. So that's really helping us really well. You can buy those at the Metro store. You can buy them from any of our ticketed vending machines. All of our local vendors. Our Schnucks partner is our largest of our vendors out there that you can buy the passes through. And then also on our mobile app, which continues to grow as far as downloads, you can buy a 30-day pass or the mobile 7-day pass as well for that. Chuck?
All right. Well, I will take over concerning ridership and system performance. I think in your books, you got information on our workforce update as well as our performance summary. And I think that each of you also received a letter concerning our schedule change scheduled for November 28th. And I want to kind of lead you into that and how we got there. We've been reporting for a number of months the difficulties that we're having in terms of finding and retaining operators We are currently about 170 operators down. All of the bonus programs, incentives that we put in place have really not helped us to keep up with the pace of losing operators to retirements and such things, and then attracting new operators on the other side. You will recall that in March of 22, we did a 5% service reduction. That was designed to help us to meet our commitments in terms of service. One of the worst situations we can have is to not show up. And we saw in September in your numbers that we still had over 2,000 missed trips. So what we're trying to do now is to match the service that we are offering with the resources that we have available. In March, that reduction called for us having 636 operators active and coming to work. We currently have 619, so we're not making it. So what we're planning to do in November is we're going to make changes to 42 of our routes, Missouri, Illinois, St. Louis County. The good thing about this, the positive thing, is that this will also allow us to restore our Blue Line Metrolink service. If you've ridden Metrolink, or if you know, currently if you're riding the Blue Line, it's going from Shrewsbury to DeBoliver Forest Park, and you have to switch trains if you want to continue east over to Fairview Heights. We're going to restore that service as of November 28th. So the Blue Line will run from Shrewsbury into Fairview Heights. And it will also have better connections as it relates to our bus connections. Also, with this change, we are going to have one a route that is suspended, and that's the number 71 in North County. We did not make these decisions lightly. Working with our planning team and our operations team, our Metro bus team, we had some very, very significant discussions about what can we change, how can we change it with the least impact on our customers. Very interesting process for me, because the bottom line, what I found is that my people, our bi-state people were most concerned about the impact on our customers. So we tried to have at least the least impact possible in doing this. So there's one route that's suspended. There are 2 routes where service is going to end at 8 p.m. instead of going on later into the evening. But for the most part, what we're doing is reducing frequency. So what may have been a 20-minute schedule is now a 30-minute or a 45-minute. 18 routes were impacted in that way. So basically what we're trying to do again is we're trying to match the service that we can provide with the resources that we have available. Another thing that we did in this process is we moved some routes to come out of our DeBoliver garage that were previously coming out of Brentwood. As you know, we had service interruption at Brentwood during the flooding. So we literally overnight moved all our service from Brentwood to DeBoliver. So we learned something there, and we're taking advantage of what we learned there to give better service coming out of our DeBoliver garage. So that's kind of where we are right now. Our ridership is actually up from last year this time, but it is still significantly lower than it was in 2019 or 2018 or 2016. We are accepting the fact that things have changed, and we are trying to change accordingly. So that is my presentation. I would be very happy to entertain any questions.
So Chuck, regards to like the route number 71, what service are we offering? I know that there's a lot of UMSL students who use the 71. What services are we offering now to ensure that they have some choice?
I'm not sure that that's the UMSL students, but basically what we're offering is an alternative with Lyft. We are connecting people to Lyft that need service in that area.
Okay. And where do we, I mean, because we've been contacted by UMSL about the 71 and the number of their students using it. So where should we send them?
Okay, I think we've responded to that. I think you passed that inquiry on to us. I think we've responded to that. There was one student in particular, I think, and I think we've given a response there. But we are making it known now exactly what these service changes are going to be. You're going to see that in a lot of different areas as we move forward, and we will be available calling customer service to address any particular needs. But we are trying to get the information out now to assure people that we are committed to providing them some type of service to replace whatever we're changing.
So that information is going directly to the riders per, let's just say, on the 71?
Well, there
About
we've got a
Lyft.
number of things going on. Ted can kind of expound on that, exactly what our communications plan is.
Sure. Actually, Kim, I know that our planning and service group is writing the number 71 and passing that information on directly in that situation. The other pieces that are, so that will help on that situation. What we're looking at is we will have engagement folks that are out there. There are brochures that are showing all of the templates as far as what services and routes are changing. We're focusing primarily on our transit centers where buses versus on Metrolink. We've spent a lot of time over the last several months as far as service changes on Metrolink, and we feel that the signage and the communications that we have out there, the announcements that we're doing, will help them. We'll be gauging that, but we really need to focus on the bus routes at this point in time.
Sorry, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Chuck, this is Deborah. Have you noticed any specific factors that are impacting your operator shortage?
Yeah, competition. You mean in terms of being able to attract and retain? Yes. We're also into retirements. There are a number of things that are impacting operators leaving us at this time, going to other places. The interesting thing, however, is that in the last month or so, we are experiencing people coming back. They have a desire to come back. They found that the grass was not necessarily greener where they went. So we're changing our rules to make sure they can come back. So I think things are changing. They're turning around, but it's not going to be a situation where I think we'll go back to where we were, for example, in 2016. So we got to deal with what we have now, and that's exactly what this change is all about. At the same time, we continue to look for incentives and plans and programs. The board approved a $2.7 million plan to attract and retain, and we're implementing that. So I think this is an opportunity for us. This is an opportunity for us to rebuild, to redesign, to rethink how we provide transit in this area. So it's not all bad, and hopefully we'll come out the other side of a much better operation.
Sounds great. Can you give us an update on Coloride?
Coloride. So Coloride is still experiencing difficulties in terms of missed rides and that kind of thing. I think in our for September, for example, there were 12,000, 12.7 1,000 denied boardings of the 49,000 trips that were requested. We are also looking at Coloride, trying to determine how we retrofit Coloride to meet the requirements that we have. We have employee issues in terms of number of operators. We're down 68 employees at Coloride. We have equipment issues in terms of replacing equipment due to supply chain issues, that sort of thing. Coloride over the years has grown beyond its legal footprint, providing services within 3/4 mile of fixed route positions. So we're trying to bring that back in and make sure that we provide the right services to the right people, the people that qualify for the service. So that's an initiative that we're working very diligently on right now as well.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Ted, I think we'll move to marketing.
Sure. Good afternoon. So the last page of your book, or the last tab in your book, is entitled Marcom. And if you have a chance to go to that. So we'll just go through some of the regular pieces that we look at as far as share of sentiment, the notable headlines that were a part of our September booking in there. There were several about flood relief. There was a Metrolink accident that was on the Illinois side of the river where a truck actually collided with our train. And then also, some of the other pieces that we had, the transformational project, that news was getting out there. So that also helped balance, as well as the information about our new PASS program, and those pieces were doing that. So what we saw were about 82 million in positive neutral reach. It's about $380,000 in publicity value from that perspective. If you look down at the bottom of page 2, you see how that those numbers kind of change as we go through the process. And we know that these are a cycle. Typically, when we look at cycle, we look at about a 3 to 4 week cycle as far as news that's there. All of our out of home, of course, still focusing on that we're working through the processes of making our system operational again. Transit app, which we see good numbers out of that on page 3. And then we get into our downloads of our transit app, and we still see strong value in what we're doing from that standpoint. SEM is search engine marketing. It's a little bit different than SEO. It is something that is pay to play. And in this world that we're in, the dynamics of digital marketing and everything that's out there anymore, organic marketing is not as effective as what we're seeing from click-throughs of videos and those pieces. So they keep helping us from that standpoint. So top performing keywords as far as bus schedules, looking at transit app and such. You can see on page 5, just kind of those locations where search engine marketing is being seen with the higher number of impressions. On page 6, it really kind of continues to go through that. And then you see the targeted display ads. Ms. Carter, I believe it was last year where we were talking about, how do we promote Metro as being safe? And we developed a series of videos where Sam on Metro goes out and asks different customers what they think of the Metro system. And those videos are still playing strong. We haven't seen any breaks in that from that perspective. So we know that message as far as safety continues to be out there from that perspective. You see some of our targeted video pieces, smartphones, 83%, almost 84% of those are hitting there. And then we move into our promotional messages. We did a first pitch with the Cardinals. We talked about the flood that was still in September. October, we'll move out of those messages as far as those pieces, talking about security and our work on recruiting in there as well, using the system to go to different events. And then as you go down into page 10, you'll see Kevin and Talby and Chuck participating in the Missouri Public Transit Association event that was held at the end of the month. Thanks, Kim, for letting us participate in that. We see some great things from that side of it. And also 10 Toes, one of Kim's programs at CMT, continues to show a lot of strong reach and using some collaboration with us and Matt Fernandez, who's in our engagement group. And then we're also looking at how our UPass programs are performing and how do we continue to increase the usage of that. And we see some strong pieces coming out of WashU, and then working with them as far as participation in some of their family publications, their news publications as well. Safety Awareness Month was in September, so you'll see that we're talking about safety awareness around the trains and Metrolink and what it takes to stop a train. We also use that opportunity as far as Emergency Preparedness Month, as Florida was going through a lot of their turmoil with their issues there too. And then changing perceptions as far as Metro Public Safety, and I don't want to take any wind away from Kevin, so I'm gonna just kind of glance over those that you want to look at those, and he'll highlight those too. And then in September, just News 4 Investigates did a piece on a family that was separated from their loved one. And normally what I tell all of our team members, including Talby, is don't look at the comments. But this is one of those times where I have to say the public understood that what was going on. We were doing our job. Kevin's team, was remarkable in how they responded to it. And I just thought it was a great opportunity to see and show that the public sometimes gets it right with us as well. And then Kevin has been doing some community stakeholder engagements about secure platforms. We've completed 19 of those presentations, and there were 4 that were completed in September. And Kevin continues to roll out there with everything that he's doing from that perspective. So that's just kind of a quick overview of marketing. I don't want to take away any time from anyone else, but if you have questions, otherwise I'll pass it back to Talby and Chuck.
Sounds like you've been pretty busy, Ted. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Any questions from anyone?
No.
Are the videos?
I think we could probably move on to security if that's your pleasure, Chair Carter.
That's fine. Just one question. The videos are on Facebook, and are they on YouTube as well?
Yes, ma'am, they are.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Kevin or Pete?
Sure, Captain Morrow, if you don't mind. Are you there?
I do not. Go ahead.
Captain Morrow, can you hear me?
I can.
Sir.
Okay, go ahead, sir. The floor is yours, and I'll follow your comments.
Well, I don't have as much as Kevin does, I'll tell you that right now, but we've got no significant changes on our end, city, county, or St. Clair from last month. And I was able to attend that luncheon with Kevin regarding the officers he's going to talk about. And it was some pretty solid work by his people. We still maintain our relationship at every platform in St. Louis County and city. And certainly St. Clair with Allied and TSS, so all's going well.
Thank you.
So just to expound on that, I can tell you that the collaborative that's been rebuilt over the last 3 years, the partnership, the working together, this is something that's been solidified and will last for years to come. This is not going to change. But the dynamic of what we faced prior to our reconfiguration in public safety 3 years ago has been completely corrected. I cannot be happier with the relationship and the engagement that we get from all 3 levels of the security approach that we have. So that being said, on the agenda, there are a couple of things. We'll start with the ASIS awards. So ASIS is an international security association. It used to be focused only in the United States, and they've expanded internationally. And they have a local chapter here in St. Louis that recognized 2 of our team members as winners in categories, and then 2 in honorable mention categories. So the first was a transit security specialist, and many of you may not be familiar, but our Civic Center property sits adjacent to Greyhound. the Greyhound bus terminal. And our transit security specialist several months ago was involved with securing evidence and notifying law enforcement after a homicide occurred in the bus terminal. The victim was seated in the terminal. The suspect walked in, shot the victim, and then ran back across our property, dropping evidence. So our transit security specialist secured evidence and also was able to follow and provide us with a direction of travel and a description of the suspect. We used closed circuit television and we located the suspect awaiting a train on our stadium platform. Once we identified that the suspect was on our property, on our platform, we immediately notified law enforcement. Our security teams also responded and stood by until law enforcement arrived. They were there very quickly, and they were able to take this homicide suspect into custody. So this is an example of the partnership and the collaboration that goes on every day. Obviously not to that magnitude, but the partnerships that certainly we have in place and the professionalism that we have in place on all levels of security. The second award by ACES was for a contract security officer assigned to our account. He is an employee of Allied Universal, and we had a disturbance that traversed down the steps of Forest Park platform from street level onto our platform, and an argument ensued between 4 or 5 individuals. One individual pulled out a firearm. With that, the Allied security officer stood his ground and used his de-escalation skills with the armed suspect, who eventually ran from the property, as well as the others involved. So those two were recognized by the St. Louis chapter of ACES. And then we received 2 honorable mentions for 2 transit security specialists that are investigators here within our public safety department that are very versed and very precise in their use of our CCTV footage for investigative purposes. They were intimately involved in both incidents that I just described, and then in addition have supported our law enforcement partners countless times with providing evidence to propel their cases to successful resolution. So those were the awards that were given out by the St. Louis chapter of ACES this past month. Are there any questions on that? And then the second thing on the agenda under security is the status of the Chestnut mental health program specific to Civic Center in North Hanley. That has been a very successful endeavor and has gained support from Bi-State and our board for an extension. That was in front of our safety and security subcommittee a month ago and received a recommendation to be presented to the full board for approval. And that will actually be on the board agenda for Friday, where we are fairly confident that we will get an extension of those 2 teams for 2 years. The Civic Center teams obviously stay static at that location. The North Hanley mental health teams actually are now mobile and have become more fluid on the system to affect some other areas where we see a heightened need. As a matter of fact, we've moved them all the way between North Hanley and Grand, and we're having great success with that. So we're very pleased with that dynamic and that complement to our overall security program. Did anyone have any questions about Chestnut? That's all I have. Thank you.
Kevin, I did want to say congrats to you and your team for the excellent work that's happening, and to Captain Morrow. It's a vastly different environment than it was 3-4 years ago when we first started. Actually, I think it was 5 years ago. Tolby, correct me if I'm wrong, but it has been a long time in coming, and it's great to see the changes on the system and to see that those changes are also being recognized by other groups. So congratulations to both of you and your teams.
Thank you. The only other thing that I would point out is that our real-time camera center here at our main facility is up and running. We are doing some final tweaks to the technology, but and we are also in a training mode right now where we're bringing staff in a rotating fashion to train them as they will share responsibilities between public safety dispatch and the real-time camera center. So our hope is within the next week or two to bring that online on a 24-hour basis. And I can't express enough how important this technology is to our overall security program, and that it complements and it becomes force multiplication for the human assets that are out there in support of not only both layers of security, but as well as law enforcement. So we're excited, and we invite you to come and see it anytime that you would like. We'll be happy to give you a tour and walk you through some of the new aspects of the technology.
Long time coming, but great. It's all kind of working together, so that's great. Before we go to transportation, I just want to check one more time to see if Chris was ever able to participate.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you're coming through loud and clear.
Outstanding. Good thing. Okay, so just a couple things from our end. Obviously, the council is engaged in the county's budget process. I'm sure you've seen the news. I don't need to hash all the bad news, but the general fund, which funds, probably 89% of county government, the proposed budget has a $41.3 million structural deficit. So that's not good news. The health department has an $11 million structural deficit, also not good news. So things have been interesting at this end, but we'll see what happens. I know the discussion was earlier, sales tax numbers for September were very strong. We get those 2 months. They're kind of a 2-month lag period between when the state actually gets the money and sends the report to us. So, but yeah, as that was mentioned earlier, sales tax was strong. We'll see if that continues. I hope it continues. So we'll see what happens there. Other than that, that's all I really have for you, unless you have questions for me.
Thanks, Chris. Any questions? Okay. Is there anything else that anyone would like to discuss before we go to transportation?
No, thank you.
Okay. Okay, Ray and Adam, you're up.
Well, I don't think we have a lot going on. We're getting into our TIP application season here, so we're starting to put together projects that we're going to apply for federal funding for the next year on. We're trying to incorporate more complete streets elements into our projects now. So these projects will include, in addition to the bus pads that we've been providing and the curb ramps that we've been providing, additional ADA work on sidewalks, and some of these corridors we're looking at adding in shared use paths and things like that to create a more pedestrian accessible route throughout the entire corridor of the project. And we're just kind of getting going on that right now. So we've kind of got our preliminary list of stuff, which inevitably changes in the next month or so. So I'm hesitant to bring anything specific up at this point. A lot of what we're doing is projects that did not get funding last year. So we're kind of tweaking some things and looking at them again and trying to take a closer look at a couple of the projects that we ended up not submitting on last year.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for all the great information and for your attendance at today's meeting. And if there's nothing else, I'll just wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and I look forward to seeing you on December the 12th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you all.